what's up everybody? So welcome back to the Flutter tutorial. So in this video, I'm going to explain you about the validation, that how you can work with a validation using Flutter application. All right. So there is a whole long courses in my course catalog. So you see videos on Laravel, you see videos on JavaScript and PHP. So now it's a great plan to make a video on the Flutter application. So I just want to go through with that. So make sure you have a very basic idea about the native applications. If you have no any idea, so make sure you only follow all the steps inside the documentation for installing your very Flutter application. So just go right down here and click on the get started here. So a lot of steps has been followed. I'm using Windows. I want to click on here and I followed all the steps, right? So make sure you have installed the Flutter SDK and make sure it should be inside your you have set up the path for that in your environmental variable. It all depends on you. So make sure you have installed some basics required for that. You make sure you install the Android Studio. So a lot of great tutorial. I hope that on YouTube where you can watch that. And I want to stick with the validation. So let's jump in and get started for that, right? So I don't want to make this video diverse, very much specific for the validation. And also with the help of validation, we are able to pass those objects into the end of the screen, which I'm going to do in the second part of this video. So let's jump in here, right? So first I want to click here, git bash here. I'm going to install my very first project for my Flutter application. So let's create here Flutter create, and the name of the project that I need here is the validation. All right, so you can also type Flutter doctor in order to follow all the steps. Make sure you have all the requirements installed once you want to install the very first project for your Flutter app, right? So now this is going to install the validation project, and now it's installed. I want to cd into the validation and open up the VS Code. So all I need is code space dot. All right, so the very basic structure for my VS Code, very basic structure for my Visual Studio Code. So you see we have a lib folder. That's where all the main entry point file, which is the main dot, which comprises of the boilerplate of the counter application. So I already installed the extension for, make sure you have installed the extensions for your Dart, Android emulator, and Flutter. So I already installed that all, and I just need to click on this icon, and which provide me the view Android emulator. Already installed that with the help of Android Studio, and with the help of your extension that's gonna open up, right? Here you see this is basically my previous project, which I was working before. So I need to run with the help of debugging. So let's just simply click on the start debugging, and this is going to launching the application here inside the debug console. So I want to just hold that once it's done, and I will be right back. Alright guys, so the application is now up and running, and you see here is a very basic boilerplate for the counter application. So here you see if I try to click on this plus, this is going to keep counting my application. All right, so because we are working with a validation, so I don't need to do anything here. So I want to remove all and start from the scratch, right? So I just want to delete that test folder, which we don't need, which is for the testing. So right now we don't need any testing here, right? So let's import here the library for the material dot package, right? So let's add here package, and that should be flutter slash material dot, right? And now I have to create here a method with the name of main, which is the entry point file. So main, and make sure it had the run application method, which consists of the material app, because we have import our material dot file. So that should have material app, and inside material app I'm gonna add up here the title for my application, which should be like right now it should be validation. So let's add here form validation. All right, and next here I want to add here debug show mode banner. That should be false. So basically that false is for here. If you see that on the right of it, here we have a debug, right? So I just want to make that false so that it should be hidden. And right after that we have a home, which I haven't created here a file yet. So we have to add up the home, which is basically the file that needs to be loaded, right? But right now I just want to make sure everything should be running fine. All right, so inside my lib file, I want to create here a separate file with the name of home, and this is going to help us to make our application more cleaner. I don't want to run everything right up here, so let's add the file with the name of home.dart, and I'm going to create a very basic form here for my form validation. So let's create here, import the package first. So import package flutter slash material dot dart, and I'm gonna create here a stateful widget for my form. Actually should be, make sure you install the extension. So basically this stateful widget help us to create this. Basically stateful widget means that our form should be dynamic. So you need to know the difference between the stateless and the stateful. So stateless widget is a widget which don't have a state, but stateful widget is something which is known as dynamic, should have a state. So we are going to create here a class with the name of sign up form, and inside that form I'm going to create a very basic form inside the container, right? So let's just remove everything from here. I'm going to create a widget build. So this method will build the form, right? And I'm going to create here a scaffold here. So scaffold provide a lot of properties, which would provide the container property, padding, and everything should be inside the scaffold. And because we are going to return the statement, so I want to add up the semicolon, and let's add here app bar for the app bar on the top of it. So I just want to give it the name of app bar. Actually, that should have the text widget. So title text widget. Let's give it the name of sign up form. And right inside after that, I'm gonna create here the actions. You can just do, even though we don't need that for now, just let's create here the actions. And I'm gonna create, I just want just explain how we can create the icon button, and then we have the on pressed method, which we don't need yet. So just want to make that simple, just keep that empty, and let's create here icon, which actually we don't need any action. Just for a better UI, you could understand how I want to work with the icon widget. So icon, and then we have our icons. That should be icons dot. I need there something which is known as I forget that sort. Yeah, icons dot sort. All right, so that's fine. And if I just try to press Control Shift F, and this gonna actually indent my code. And how you're gonna do it, make sure you have installed the extensions, which I already installed. I have my Flutter app, Flutter extension installed. So just want to search and show you. So if you install that, that should be predefined inside that, right? So this indentation is already inside that, right? So now our code is just for the confirmation, just to check that out. Now if I just try to refresh it, you see nothing. You see here inside your app, right? All it says that null check operator used on a null value. All right, so first gonna fix that up, and I'm gonna do here is let's create a home and just give it the name of the class that I just created here, and just make this just copy that class and define it right up here and saves it. Sign up form. All right, so let's define that, import that up. I just want to click on this class method and just simply import it. And here you see now we have a home.dart. Now it tries to run that application, and you see here now we have our very basic app bar, right? So I can also make that into the center, even though we don't need that for the application, but just want to show you that we can add that property to make our text into the center. All right, so now let's create here a form. All right, so let's create here a form, and right after the app bar, I'm gonna create here a body, and inside body, I'm gonna create here a container or a form widget first. So because form, we are working with a form, so we have to make sure it should have a form widget. Inside the form widget, I'm going to create here a child that should have a that should bring up the container, and inside the container I'm going to create here a column. So let's create here a form. So right after the app bar ending, I'm going to create here a body, and inside body, I'm going to create here a container. So inside the container widget, I'm going to create here a child that should have the form. So because we are working with the form, so let's bring up the form widget, and inside the form widget, there should be a child. And inside that child, I'm going to create here a column widget, and inside the column widget, let's press Control Shift F. So make things in indentation. So child inside the column, I'm going to create here children. You know that the column widget provides you the children attribute, and that children should have the text field, right? So inside children, I'm going to create here I'm also have a padding widget just for the inner spaces. So let's bring up the padding and bring up the edge insets, and so it should be edge insets dot all. I all want from the spaces from all top, right, left, bottom. So let's bring up the 8.0, and next I need to have my padding, and next right after the padding I'm going to create a child field. So inside the padding attribute I'm going to create here a child. So that child should have a text form field, and inside text form field I'm going to create a decoration, and that decoration should have the input decoration, which should consist of the label text that we want to show. So let's bring up the table text and let's give it the name of enter first name. All right, so Control Shift F, and that's fine. All right, so that's for the first name. I need the same trick for my last name. So inside the children widget, I need to create here the first name. Let's bring up the last name as well here. So right inside here, I'm going to just change that to enter last name. Next, I want for my email. So just copy that again, and that's for the email. All right, so enter email. And the last field that I need here is the password field. All right, so just want to copy that up and just make that to be password. All right, so this should be the password, and because we are working with the password, so I need here an attribute which is known as obscure text, which means that it should not show any text. So I make that to be true. Now if I try to refresh that, as well as I need here the submits button for my form. So just want to show you how it looks like. So there we go. So enter first name, last name, email, and the password, right? And I also need here a submits button, and plus I need some padding right after that. So let's create here a validation button right after the so this should be the padding, and right inside here, right after the padding, I'm gonna create here a sized box. So let's give it the size boxed widget, which should bring up the width or the height. Right now it's I just want some space from the top, so just make that height to be 10. And right after that I'm going to create here elevated button, right? So another widget that I need for submitting my button. So right now I don't need any function for so just make that empty, and the child widget a child should bring up the text of the button, which should be let's give it the sign up, right? So make that as simple as that. Control Shift F to make all my code indented. And now if I try to refresh it, and let's have a look and see how it looks. So this looks something like having a button right on the in between. Now I want some space as well. So for that I need to bring up something which is known as the again padding right inside my right after the container. I need to create here a padding. So let's give it the padding of 10 edge insets dot all, and bring up the 8.0, right? So this is going to add some space between inside the form, right? So this looks something a lot much better, I believe. Yeah, now it's reflected, and now you see here we have a very good looking form. Now next I need to create here a form state, because we need to work with a validation, plus we need some text. Like let's suppose if I add some text right inside here, and once I click on the sign up button, and this is going to show us the validation, right? So let's going to work with that first. So inside the form we have something which is known as key, which we have to define on top of it first. So we also need to work up with that. So let's create here a form state first. So right after the sign up form, I need to create here something which is known as form state. Now form state is an object that can be used to save, reset, or validate every form field that is descendant of the associated form. So descendant means that it's a part of this complete widget tree, which is basically the main part of that tree, and we have to work with the whenever we are working with a state validation or something like that, we have to work with the form state. So let's gonna use that in our application. So let's define that. So final global key. So final global key it should be, and I need to define here the state of the form. So that should be form state, and let's define here form key, which I have explained when I'm gonna use it. So form key and equal to global key. So global key, and let's define here the state of the form, right? So as simple as that, right? So we have defined the form state as well, right, inside here. And as I explained that inside the form, we have to use something which is known as key. And with the help of that, we are going to define that form key, right? So this key is for our entire form. And now I need to create here a validation, which is very interesting as far as the Flutter is concerned. All I need here is an attribute which is known as the validator, and with the help of validator I'm gonna get the value, and that actually means it's a type of a string, and now value, whatever I type here, it should get its value, and we have to show the error on based of that. Now I need to show if that value is empty. So if that value is null, right? So validator needs to check that if that value is null, then I need to show here a field is required. All right, so that's fine. And actually we're gonna get some error right here that validator, yeah, because now it's showing us this the argument type string can't be assigned to the parameter type string function string, right? So I need to bring up something which is known as, it will check the null. If that string value is something present, then it will check if that value is null, or we have to check that value dot trim method and dot length, and if that is equal to 0, so we have to see if that, if there is no any space or if that value is empty, then it's going to show you the field is required, otherwise it should be null, right? Okay, so we are good to go. And if I try to create here, let's first look for the first name, right? So because we need to click, so I need to, once I click on the sign up button, I need to show the validation. So right inside here, so we already have an on press. I need to create here a method with the name of validator. And right after that, I need to define that method as well on top of it, which shows that the validation of our form. So let's go right after the state. Let's create here a form validator. Oops, it should be validator. And right inside that, I need to define here the form key. So underscore form key dot the current state of the form. So it should be current state is null. That means if it's null, and I also need to check that if that form should have, so if underscore form key dot current state is validate. So we are going to use here a method of validate. So because of the null, I need to check that in a way. So if I don't define that, you see here it shows you the method validate can't be null. So I need to check. That's why I bring up the even that showing you the null check, that it should, if that is available, if that value has a state, otherwise it's going to show you null, right? Now if that is null, then I need to show a print form that yes, it's validated. And on the other hand, I'm going to show here that it's not validated. Right, so let's refresh that and see. Now if I go back to the form and see if it's refreshed, I believe, yeah. Now if I try to click on the sign up, and you see here we have a very nice looking validation which shows that field is required. As long as I type something and click on the sign up, and you see that the validation disappeared, right? So I need to apply the same validation check inside my last name because that validation remains the same. So I need to just simply copy that and paste it down right here. And right after we have a validation which is known as email. So here I just want to change a few things. So for the email, I need to apply here regular expression as well. So right after the email, all right, so I just copy the same, keep that same. So for email, I need to just remove this return null. I just want to bring that right next to it. So first for the field is required, I need to bring up something which is known as regular expression. So REGEXP. So this will check if that actually meets the requirement of all the format of the email. And as well as we have a has match method which will check the values inside that, right? So let's gonna go inside my console. I already open up that, and all you need to do is just simply type regex for email. On the top we have a email link, and actually I copied it right from here. So just simply copy that and just define that inside the source with the double quotes. And still you see here it shows some expectant identifier. So you need to bring up something which is known as R, which is basically a raw string. So just ignore, just put up right here. So which will ignore all the issues, right? And right after here, I need to just define here, please enter the valid email address. So it should be return, please enter valid email address. All right, so that's fine for the email address, otherwise keep that null. All right, so that's fine for the email address. Now last we are left with the password, and it should be very much similar to actually I don't need that. I need to verify. Yeah, it's fine. Just copied it again, same from the top. So let's copy that inside our the password. So I'm gonna copy it in, right after the password. So obscure text, and it will check that if the value is null. And I also have to apply here a check right after that if that value should be less than 6. So if the value dot length is, if it should be less than equal to 6, that means that if that length is less than the 6, I need to return that password should not be less than 6 characters. Alright, so I hope that the validation part is almost done, and if I try to refresh that and just to check that out, everything is working fine in our case. So first, if I try to click on this sign up button, and actually once you click on the sign up button, and you see here because of the validation this error is showing up, and because that screen is actually bottom overflowed, so by something like 54 pixels. So just to remove that, in order to remove this, all you need to do is just simply click on this container and click on this bulb and wrap with a widget, and use here single child. It should be something like a single child scroll view, and it's not gonna work actually. Something is single. Let me refresh that, and now if I try to type that again, single child scroll view. Yeah, now if I try to refresh that, and I hope this error should be removed because now it will be scrollable. The screen is now scrollable, so we won't get any kind of error like that. So now if I click on the sign up button, and you see that it's working very fine. Now I enter the first name. Let's add here the John and Doe, and if I type up the Doe, and let's add the email. If I add some wrong email which is not properly formatted, let's add here jaw, and as well as we apply here a check for my password, which should be 1 2 3. I remember it should not be less than 6 characters. And as long as I just make that back, and if I click on the sign up button, and you see now it's still showing that please enter valid email address. So let's add here joe@gmail.com, and for the password it should be at least less than 6 characters. Click on the sign up, and please enter the valid email address, although it's fine. Let me check that out. John@gmail.com. Sign up. Still not removing actually. Now if I try to add up 789, yeah, it's working fine, but there's some kind of issue with the email formatting. So I need to check first. So if that is a regular expression of the email, which is regexp, has matched with the value, then it should return please enter the valid email address, which is fine. And let me refresh that again. Alright, so let's add here John and Doe, John@gmail.com, and the password should be greater than these 6 characters. Click on the sign up. Yeah, it's fine. Now if I go to my terminal, and actually I need to check the debug console, and you see that now it's validated, right? So as long as I type something, it's gonna fires up, right? So I hope you guys learned something out of it. You learn how to show the characters, or even you can work with the email formatting. You can also work with a very simple validation that is required. All right, so you learned something out of here, and how to work with the validation, how to work with the form state, right? So in the next video, which is going to be very interesting, I'm going to fill everything inside this form, all the fields inside here, and I want to pass this object into the end of the screen, how I'm going to navigate it. So I'm going to teach you in the next video. So I hope you guys learned something. So don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and I want to see you in the next part.